Hey, how you guys doing? Depending where you at, good afternoon. Yo, this
Good
is
afternoon to
KLA
you
Cloud the
too.
Wanderer. How are you? This is my guest, Brandon Pilcher. He's an illustrator, and he's gonna tell us how he got into illustrating. So, how you been, sir?
Well, of course, I've been drawing since around 5 years old, but I got really serious about getting better at art around age 18 when I was about to leave high school, and and I've been drawing ever since. I'm 34 now.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I've seen some of your work on Instagram and stuff. There's times, I browse through Instagram and I stumbled across your work, and then the stuff that you was illustrating, it caught my interest. It's like old civilizations and stuff like that, and
Yeah, that's been an interest of mine. It started with in second grade with ancient when we studied ancient Egypt in second grade, and kind of expanded from there. But my first love was dinosaurs, which I've been into since I was like 4 years old.
yeah, yeah. So like how did you get it? So what's the project? I mean, like what's the project that you're working on?
Well, I actually been working a bunch of different projects over the years. The current one, I have a short novella in the works called about Sinbad and the Lost Continent. It's basically based. It's kind of Arabian Nights meets dinosaurs. It's kind. I've already finished the manuscript. I'm in the process of editing it now, but already I've written about 7 books and counting, and they all have my illustrations in them.
Yeah. So we could show some of this stuff. Yeah,
Yes,
I like the trees.
that's a recent one. It's Cleopatra and Amyrina's fighting the Romans. It's actually I actually kind of really like the idea behind it. It's already become a favorite, even though it's one of my more recent works. That's one, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you. Cleopatra is the light skinned girl on the left, and Amyrina's the Queen of Kush is the darker skinned lady on the right.
Yeah.
I've
Can I
actually
ask you
written
a question?
yes.
Like, how did you kind of like, there's people that look at her kind of like lighter than the complexion that you drew her.
Well, I think the Cleopatra is known to have come from the Ptolemaic dynasty, which is not native Egyptian; it's Macedonian origin. Having said that, we don't really know who her mother. We only know who her father was. We know her
Yeah.
father was of Macedonian descent, but we don't know who her mother was. So it's possible that her mother may have been a native Egyptian, which would make her biracial or mixed race by our definition.
Okay. All right. Yeah, yeah, you caught my interest when just you know that's why I asked that question.
Yes.
Um,
And that one is the Zulu versus Maori and Antarctica.
okay. It's like are there like so this is like in a book or something?
That's I haven't written the book yet. I might do something like with it later, but that's just a one-off illustration. Like I have a lot of those. Like
Okay.
like some of my and that what were you yeah yeah
Oh,
and that's
you
a
want me to go ahead?
Tyrannosaurus. And that's one of my dinosaur artworks. That's a Tyrannosaurus against another Ceratopsian called I think it's a Sierra Ceratops if I recall correctly. It's a cousin of Triceratops, and they're fighting in Lake Cretaceous, North America.
Okay.
And that's the Egyptian gladiatrix character I've drawn. No story for her yet, but I don't really have a name for her yet. But she's a character I've drawn a few times. I've drawn at least a couple of times. I also have a more recent drawing of her fighting another woman in the arena. I don't yeah, which I don't have that up yet. That's an earlier
Yeah.
version of her. That's an earlier drawing of her from a few years ago. Yeah, the one and that's an Egyptian queen riding a dinosaur, and kind of a combination of my two favorite interests.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Yes. And that's an Egyptian lady with holding a pet monkey, or a pet her pet monkey, and he's not really so crazy about it, as you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine. You can tell for the his tongue is sticking out like he's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a warrior queen from Sudan, from southwestern Sudan, rallying her warriors while riding the back of an elephant. That's more of a fantasy illustration than a historical one, but it's a lot of fun. It's a fun concept anyway. And that's actually a character from the book I have coming up, which is that I told you about Sinbad the Lost Continent. Well, that's a native of the that's well, he's basically going to this lost continent of Lemuria, and that's a woman who's native to that continent, who kind of acts as his guide and love interest.
Oh, okay.
Her name is Nimong, by the way.
Did you name you name her that or?
Yes, I named her.
Oh, okay. All
And that's a woman from the Harappan civilization of ancient South Asia. They're kind of a they kind of were they developed around the Indus Valley in Pakistan, but that was part of India back. But it was called. They're kind of a thought to have been kind of ancestors of the Dravidian people of South. They're believed to be a branch of the Dravidian people of India, and
right.
who were basically built their civilization before these so-called Aryan people arrived from Central Asia later. Yeah,
Okay.
they're basically the first urban culture that we know of in India or South Asia.
Mm.
And that's a Carthaginian woman. Now, the Carthaginians were a North African people who were a people whose culture began in the area of Tunisia and North Africa. It actually started as a trading colony established by Phoenician traders from Lebanon, but this woman would particular a woman would be a native North African rather than a Phoenician. I think the civilization's population was actually fairly diverse because of it was a big trading empire, but this is one of the native North African Carthaginians here that you see here.
Okay.
And that's the gladiatrix character we saw earlier, where she's fighting another woman who's actually from Germany, from the region of Germany, in front of the Roman audience, as you can see.
Mm. Now, did you make this up or you just you read about this?
Well, it's a fictional story of mine. It's from my
Oh,
imagination.
oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I noticed you like creating like women characters and stuff.
Yes, and that's the cover for that I designed for the book I'm working on right now. That I'm in the process of editing.
Okay.
And that's Cleopatra Amiomarenas again, but they're kind of posing as if for some kind of selfie. That's it. I mean, I like drawing them to those two women are both historical figures who live close to each other in time. So I like to imagine they were friends. After Cleopatra died, the Romans would get into a war with Amiomarenas where they would try to take over Kush, but they didn't succeed, and they eventually made a peace treaty with terms that were favorable to the Kushites, or Nubians, as they're also called.
Mm.
And that's just Romans of lost. That's just dinosaurs attacking Romans. Dromaeosaur dinosaurs attacking Romans. Yeah, and that's Aurora from Star Trek. She's but she's wielding a lightsaber like Star Wars. I kind of like the idea that they're in the same universe. Star Trek and Star Wars are in the same universe, but at different time periods, maybe. But maybe the
You ever
people who
thought about? I didn't mean to cut you off. You ever thought about doing like a horror series, like just her or some in Star Trek?
what can you repeat that?
No, I was asking you, did you ever thought about creating a story of just a horror, like in a situation, you know,
Horror story?
like a comic book series? That's what I was
Oh,
trying to
comic
tell
book.
you.
I actually would like to get into comic books someday. I might try that out as well as video game design. But So far, I mostly just do one-off illustrations as well as illustrations for my books that I write. It's
Oh,
kind of comic books are something I would like to dabble in. I just need to think of a script. I actually did write a script for a comic book last winter, but I haven't gotten yet to working on. I haven't really gotten to drawing the pictures for it yet.
oh. So this is what. So what you doing? It's a graphic novel or just a book, and you just illustrate the stories.
Well, I'm illustrating. It's a written prose book. It's a written book with but I just illustrate it.
Oh, can you talk more in depth about it, or if you don't mind?
Well, usually I write books or short stories, and then I draw either scenes from the stories or I draw the characters. And the books I sometimes do when I publish a book on Amazon, I sometimes design the cover myself. I do the art for the cover myself. I mean, I haven't really gotten to graphic novels or comics yet, though, as I told you.
Oh, I thought it was a graphic novel. That's why, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just a pretty lady I drew. Yeah, that's just a pretty pinup lady I drew, hip hop type of lady I drew,
Okay.
and that's a prehistoric. Well, that's actually not a Homo sapien. That's a woman ancestral to Homo sapiens from prehistoric Africa, and she's throwing a spear. Really like the motion in that one, to be honest.
Yeah, I like this. This is cool.
Yes, and that's a prehistoric African woman fighting a great white shark. I mean, there actually are great white sharks swimming off the coast of South Africa. I thought I would represent that here.
Okay. Well, that's all. Well, hold on. Maybe I could find something else.
Yeah, are you? Are you? You're. Oh yeah, that's a native. That's a prehistoric Native American fighting dire wolves in prehistoric California. I actually titled it "The Real Casino Man" because that's what someone from prehistoric Casino, California, would have actually looked like.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Those are the pictures I got. You know. So like so how long you been writing the story on
Well, I've been writing. I've also writing is another thing I've been doing for a long time, but I kind of published my first book. I kind of mostly short stories for a while, but around starting around the mid 2010s. But I published my first novel, Priestess at the Lost Colony, around 2021. It's a alternate history slash magical realism novel set in a timeline wherein the ancient Egyptians colonized the coast of Greece, and it's the story is basically that the Greek one subgroup of the Greeks called the Mycenaeans are trying to destroy the colony, have attacked the colony, and this priestess from the colony named Etoeret has to has to stop them from taking over from enslaving her people and taking over the world. She's basically the heroine of the story.
okay. How did you get like the did you do a lot of research and like making this story or
Yes, it's yes. You obviously have to do some research if you're writing any kind of historical setting, of
yeah,
course.
right. Yeah, yeah, how was that process like for you?
Well, sometimes some of it I do beforehand. Other times I just sometimes when I'm in the process of writing, I just look up something what I need to know, and then like if I'm writing a scene where they're eating something, I need to look up what kind of cuisine they would have been eating, what the texture, food texture, or what it would have smelled like. That I can look up on my own. Other stuff like the basic history, I need to read up before I do the writing. Yeah, it's kind of a mixture of beforehand research and research while I write.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Like earlier you told me that you like history and you when you was a kid you always liked the history. And that's why you
Yeah,
kind of
it
wrote
started
the
with second
stories.
with ancient history with when we studied ancient Egypt in second grade, like I said. Yes.
Oh, okay, okay, all right. Like yeah, like I just you just caught my interest in doing it. Like what else stories that you write, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, I've written. Well, I'll look at. I'll dig up my. I have. Uh, well, my most recent book I finally finished and published is "Woman of the Plains: A Tale of 100,000 Years Ago." It's about early human beings in Africa, and basically, it's a kind of a clash of cultures between one group of people who are nomads wandering the landscape, and the other being a group of people who have kind of settled in down and built village around a river. It's basically a confrontation of cultures. I would describe it. Anyway, that's uh, that's my latest novel. I also wrote another book called The Slave Prince of Zimbabwe, which is basically um, basically about basically set in the civilization of Great Zimbabwe in medieval South Africa. It's basically this Eastern European guy who was taken and bought, who was taken and he was enslaved. He basically has to buy his freedom from his master in South Africa by capturing the Queen of Great Zimbabwe for him. But she offers him an alternate path to freedom, and basically together the hero and the queen have to basically fight not only his former master, but also this former master has, creditor as debt as is owes a debt to the Empire of China, and he has to fight the, and he is, and our hero basically our hero and her and the queen had to fight the Chinese as well as his master.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Have you
another
ever
book,
do you go to like museums and stuff like that to for like inspiration or anything like that? Have
museums.
you traveled? Did have you done some
I
travel?
like going to museums, yes, but I also read books mostly as well as articles on the internet.
Oh, oh. You never been to like Africa or like China or just
I've been to China. I actually lived in Hong Kong as an expat during my high school years, but one
yeah?
time we did go to South Africa when I was a kid. We did visit South Africa when I was like 10 to 12 years old. But other than that, I haven't really gotten many chances to go to the continent, but I would like to do so someday.
Oh, I mean, you've been there one time, you know, so, so that's close enough, you know.
Yes.
I haven't been, I haven't been, I wouldn't say that I left out of the United States, so you know that's cool, you know.
Yeah.
When when did you when did you just decided to just kind of write these stories? At what at one point? At what
Well, I've
point?
always
I
wanted to
mean,
be kind of a writer of stories and fiction. I guess, but it just took a while to get good enough to publish my stories, I guess.
oh, now how long ago was this?
Well, I guess the oldest, oh, I've been writing for a long time, but I guess the first stories I'm proud of were like I produced that I'm proud of sharing were like 2015 or so. It took a while to get to my current level, basically.
Oh, okay, okay. Do you have like like somebody that inspired you, like an author, like a best-selling author?
Well, I have some. I have a number of authors. One is Robert E. Howard, the guy who created Conan the Barbarian. Another is Charles
Oh,
R.
okay.
Saunders, who is the guy who created the Amaro character, who's kind of like Conan, but a native African. I'm also a fan of Edgar Rice Burroughs, who wrote the Tarzan books, and I also those are kind of the big three, some of the big three inspirations. I'm also fond of. I've read quite a number of books over the years. Of course, you have to read in order to be a good writer. Yeah, and
Right, right.
mostly they're historical, adventure, or fantasy. Sometimes sci-fi too.
Okay. Do you read a lot of comic books also, or?
I was fond of the comic book Calvin and Hobbes when I was a kid. The comic strip Calvin and Hobbes when I was a
Yeah.
kid, but I haven't really read a lot of superhero stuff. I have read a few Turok comics. Turok the dinosaur hunter, the Native American guy who fights dinosaurs. I read a few of those comics as well, but I can't say. But I'll admit that superhero comics aren't really my thing too much.
Nah, that's cool. I mean, you know, I don't read as much superhero comics like that, you know, like maybe like once in the blue moon. Like I have read other like genres of comics, like indie comics a little bit. You know,
Yeah,
yeah, it's caught my interest a little bit. You ever heard of Jeff Smith? He wrote this story called Bone. It's like these mythical creatures and they go on a quest.
I've
And
I've seen the title around. I don't think I've ever read them though.
yeah, it's pretty good. They have like a prequel to it where the old lady of the story, she's younger and she had to fight this she had to fight somebody like a sorcerer or something like that. Yeah, but I read that like maybe almost 20 years ago.
Wow,
So
that's what you yeah, amazing you remember that.
yeah, yeah, because it was a good story. I mean, and Jeff Smith, he's like a good like illustrator, and he just caught my interest. So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, like I like how you draw like the women, the warrior women that caught my interest.
Yeah,
Um,
that's definitely a theme I'm very fond of.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's moments where I draw like bodybuilders and stuff. Like when I,
Yeah, I see you're fond of female bodybuilders. I saw your YouTube page.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I get burned by liking them. Sometimes, yeah, but when I was a kid, well, maybe like around 14 and 15, I started paying attention to them, and looking at them in newsstands and stuff, and I decided to purchase one. And ever since then, like I was kind of hooked a bit, and then
Yeah.
like I would draw like the women bodybuilders at times, and I think and then then when I was on Instagram, I started seeing people that do like comic book illustrations of them. I was talking to one, not too long ago, like days ago. He's like an illustrator, and so yeah. Do you read Red? Have you ever read like a Red Sonja book, or
Repeat that. I don't.
have you
Sometimes
read?
I'm kind
Have you ever read Red Sonja? She like the warrior.
I know I've seen artwork of her on DeviantArt and webs on the internet, but I don't think I've ever read the comic.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. Like like what do you see like your stories like in a movie adaptation or something like that?
That would be great if I could get one of them made into a movie or
Yeah,
a TV
yeah,
series
that's
or
fine.
maybe an animated TV series. That'd be good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like your work. It's kind of cool.
Yes, I'm very honored to hear that.
Yeah, dude. Well, so when you had like a love for dinosaurs?
It's kind of started when I was age 4, like I told you. It's been lifelong. Yeah, it's basically something that's always been with me. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So do you have like No, I'm just looking. I'm just looking. Well, I appreciate you, giving me the opportunity to talk with you. Is there anything you want to talk about or about your website?
Well, okay, my website is brandonpilchersart.com. Th- And that's kind of my main biggest website where I have, links to I have a big gallery of my artwork as well as another watch one page. Another page has links to my books and also have a have an FAQ page as well as a contact form. You can ask questions or commission artwork from me. I do art commissions.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I also have I also sold my artwork on a couple of sites. One is Redbubble, another is called Imprint. That's INPRNT. There's no I in it. And then I also sell my books on Amazon.
Oh, okay, that's cool. You went to art school or anything like that? Or
I've taken a few classes, but a lot of what I know is self taught.
oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's perfect. Like, how often do you draw? Like,
Well, I sometimes I draw a lot. I draw several times a week. Other times I'm a little. But this week, this was kind of more of a resting week for me. But I draw. You need sometimes I draw. I'm very productive. Like I draw several times a day or several times a week. Other times I kind of need to pause for a bit and don't really draw or draw only once. It tends to vary with time.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's not always easy to
Yeah, sometimes
constantly draw.
you need to rest, and sometimes you do get burnt out, and you need to rest and recharge, as I call it.
What do you do outside of drawing?
Well, like I said, I write books.
Oh yeah.
I end short stories. I don't write as often as I draw, but sometimes when I'm feeling really inspired, I could write a whole story or a few chapters in a day. Yeah, it depends on my. I can be. I'm kind of weird like that. Yeah, I
I
don't really get the inspiration to write as often as I do drawing, though. I guess writing is a bit more work intensive for me. I guess.
okay. Like, where do you get your inspiration from? Like, from just the books, and you don't watch movies or anything like that?
Well, it can come from anywhere. Sometimes it's books. Sometimes it's movies. Sometimes it's artwork I see. Occasionally, when drawing something, I get an idea for a story. I think, what if this? There was a story behind this drawing. That's another source of inspiration. But inspiration for both art and writing can come from literally anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It can be very
You-
spontaneous.
That's true. I was watching Ben Hur, and that I really I like the movie to that. Like, it was very powerful. Because it talks about the days of Jesus and all that stuff, and it for some reason that I think that was from a book that was somebody wrote that. It was a
Yeah,
book, and
I've
then it
seen the
became.
remake of that movie. It was okay. I mean, I'm not really into that kind of religious stuff, but I do like the historical period is somewhat interesting to me. So yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen the older movie though, or read the book yet though.
Oh, somebody had the nerve to remake that. That's crazy.
There was a remake that came out several years ago. It's I don't I guess it's not a classic like the old one though.
Yeah, they need to leave the classics alone. There need to be a rule
Yeah,
or
well,
something.
sometimes it is nice to update a movie to see it with modern special effects. But yes, I think Hollywood definitely is too fond of remakes and reboots
Yeah,
nowadays. I mean, they just want easy money, basically.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Is there like a movie you've seen that was a book and it turned into a movie that you
There's a
enjoyed?
well, one my favorite movie of all time is Jurassic Park, and that was definitely
No,
adapted from a book by Michael Crichton.
no.
I have
You
read the
know.
book. I have read the book. I think I like the movie a bit more, but the book's not
Yeah,
bad either.
yeah. I never really got into Jurassic Park like that. I probably seen like some sequels to it, but I just could never get into it because it's just the same thing. Killer dinosaurs, and then they'll try to make something else with it, like they're like an island or like the Lost World or another clones of dinosaurs, and I don't know. I just got tired with that. With
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Jurassic
Well,
Park.
I've seen all the movies, all the six movies there, but the only one I don't like is the third one. But I will admit the first one is the best. Will always be the best, and
Yeah,
I do like the first Jurassic World movie though. But the others are okay.
yeah.
The third Jurassic Park movie I don't care for. That's the only one I don't really like that much.
Yeah, I did see the Jurassic World. It was decent, but after a while, you just get tired of the killer dinosaur theme, and like maybe like if they had like the stuff that you illustrate, maybe it'd be interesting more to look at because you don't really see like somebody riding a dinosaur, and have a spear in their hand and stuff like that.
Well, there is
Yeah.
that Primal. Well, the guy who made Samurai Jack does have a animated series called Primal. That's actually one of my favorite series of all time, animated series of all time. It's only got two seasons though, and I'll admit the second season was not as strong as the first, but I still like it a lot.
Yeah,
It,
Primal. No, I haven't seen that one. I've seen Samurai Jack. I thought that was a cool cartoon, like
yeah, I
how
love that. That's a remember fondly too.
yeah, that was cool. How he went time traveling and stuff like that, and he's trying to get home. Did they ever show him like actually get back home?
Well, I think back in the mid 2000s or so, they actually put out a final fifth season where he finally gets home, but suffice to say, it ends in a rather bittersweet note, even though he manages to get back home.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I don't think I ever seen him actually get home and stuff. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so what do you do like outside of so you're a full-time writer or
Yeah, writing and drawing are kind of they're kind of my I also do editorial consulting for a small firm called Right Away Books, which helps basically helps other writers edit their manuscripts and get published. That's kind of those are kind of my three big jobs right now, but as far as other hobbies, I like playing video games. I do watch movies and TV from time to time, but video games are another big interest of mine. I'm particularly fond of strategy games like Age of Empires and Civilization, and I also, of course, like any game with dinosaurs in it. That's another one, but um, yeah, those are my kind of my big and things I do.
okay, okay. I stopped playing video games, like in my adolescent years. I think the last video game I would say I played was I think I was in my friend's house and he had like Call of Duty or something like that. And that was it. I don't really play video games too much. Like I would say, like I stopped really, I stopped getting into them like maybe like at the age of Super Mario World when they had the 64-bit Super Nintendo, that type of stuff. So
Yeah, video games have come a long way from since then, but I yeah, I don't think I play. I did go through a period of my life when I didn't play games as much as I used to, but I'm getting more into active in gaming now. I would say.
okay, that's cool. That's cool. Well, yeah, I mean, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you, man. And I really like your illustrations.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you not only this interview but also you broadcasting this for on YouTube. That's very big, great for my reach. I'll definitely share this once the interview is available to watch on YouTube. I'll definitely share it with my friends and family and
Yeah,
anyone else who follows me on social media. I'll definitely share it around and
yeah,
appreciate the opportunity to talk.
no problem. Thank you.
Okay,
All right,
and
folks, that's it.
have a good evening to you too.